I stood at the altar, looked at my father, and then at my fiancée. They didn't know I knew. The church was packed. 200 guests, maybe more. Everyone I'd ever known, sitting in those polished wooden pews, smiling at me like this was the happiest day of my life. The organ music swelled, filling every corner of that old building, and the afternoon light came through the stained glass windows in fractured colors, red, blue, gold, painting everything in this false, holy glow. Sarah looked perfect. Of course she did. White dress, delicate lace, hair pulled back just enough to show her face. That face I'd kissed 1,000 times. That face I thought I knew better than my own. She was smiling at me, her eyes a little wet, and I could see her chest rising and falling with each breath, nervous, excited, in love, or at least that's what anyone watching would think. My father stood beside me as my best man. He'd insisted on it. Said it would mean the world to him, that he was so proud of me, that this was a moment we'd remember forever. He was right about that last part, just not in the way he imagined. He had his hand on my shoulder now, giving it a gentle squeeze, and I could feel the weight of it through my suit jacket. Solid, reassuring, the same hand that had taught me how to throw a baseball when I was 7. The same hand that had signed my college tuition checks. The same hand that had apparently touched my fiancée in ways I didn't want to think about. The pastor was talking, but I wasn't really hearing the words. Something about love and commitment and the sacred bond of marriage. Sacred. That word echoed in my head, bitter and hollow. I wanted to laugh, but my throat felt like it was full of broken glass. It had been 3 weeks since I found out. 3 weeks of walking around with this knowledge burning inside me like acid. 3 weeks of pretending everything was normal, of kissing Sarah goodnight, of having Sunday dinners with my parents, of discussing centerpieces and seating arrangements and what song we'd dance to at the reception. I hadn't planned to find out. That's the thing about secrets. They're never revealed on purpose, are they? They slip out through cracks, through careless moments, through technology that's supposed to make our lives easier, but ends up exposing the rot underneath. The security camera, that's what did it. I'd installed them around the house 2 months ago after we'd had a break-in in the neighborhood. Nothing major, just some kids stealing packages off porches. But Sarah had been nervous, and I wanted her to feel safe. So I put up cameras. Front door, back door, living room, kitchen. I could check them from my phone wherever I was. Modern technology, keeping us safe. Except I was the one who needed protection, and I didn't even know it. I'd been at a conference in Denver, some boring 3-day thing about market analytics that my company insisted I attend. Sarah had stayed home. Said she had too much to do with the wedding planning, couldn't afford to miss work. Made sense. My father had offered to stop by the house to check on some electrical issue we'd been having in the garage. He was handy like that, always fixing things, always helping out. The good father, the reliable man. I was in my hotel room, couldn't sleep because of the time difference, scrolling through my phone at 2 in the morning. Bored, restless, I opened the security app just to check on things, just to see the empty house, the familiar rooms, maybe catch a glimpse of our cat wandering through the frame. Instead, I saw my father's car in the driveway. At 11 o'clock at night, 3 hours after he'd texted me saying he'd fixed the electrical problem and was heading home. I should have closed the app. Part of me knew, even then, that I didn't want to see what came next, but I didn't close it. I switched to the living room camera, and there they were, my father and Sarah. On the couch where Sarah and I had watched movies every Friday night for the past 2 years, where we'd fallen asleep together more times than I could count, where I'd proposed to her 6 months ago, getting down on one knee with my grandmother's ring while she cried and said yes, yes, yes. They weren't doing anything explicit, not at first, but I didn't need to see explicit. I could read it in their body language, in the way they sat too close, in the way his hand rested on her knee, in the way she leaned into him. Comfortable, familiar, Like this wasn't the first time. I watched for 10 minutes. That's all I could stand. 10 minutes of my father and my fiancée sitting together in my house, talking in low voices I couldn't hear through the camera, laughing at some private joke, and then, the worst part, kissing. Soft at first, tentative, and then deeper. His hand moving up her thigh, her fingers in his hair that was grey now, that I'd watched turn from brown over the years, that reminded me of how much older he was than her. 25 years older. I'd shut off my phone and sat in that hotel room, staring at the wall until the sun came up. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, feeling something inside me crack apart, something I didn't have a name for. When I got back home, I didn't say anything. I checked the cameras again, going back through the footage. It had been going on for 3 months. 3 months of late-night visits when I was working late or traveling. 3 months of my father finding excuses to come by the house. 3 months of lies stacked on top of lies. And now here we were, at the altar, everyone watching, everyone expecting me to say "I do" and slip that ring onto her finger and kiss her while they all applauded. "Michael?" The pastor was looking at me. So was Sarah, so was my father, so was everyone. "Do you take Sarah to be your lawfully wedded wife?" I looked at Sarah, really looked at her. Her smile was starting to falter now, confusion creeping into her eyes. She could sense something was wrong. Good. Let her sense it. Then I looked at my father. He was grinning, proud, his chest puffed out like he'd accomplished something, like he'd successfully betrayed his own son and was about to watch him make the biggest mistake of his life. "I need to say something first," I said. The words came out calm, too calm, the kind of calm that comes right before an explosion. Sarah's smile disappeared completely. "Michael, what?" "I need everyone to hear this," I continued, turning to face the congregation. 200 faces stared back at me, confused, curious, starting to sense that something was very, very wrong. Because I've been keeping a secret for 3 weeks, and I think it's time I shared it. My mother was in the front row. I could see her face starting to pale, some instinct telling her that whatever came next was going to hurt. She had no idea how much. My mother's face, that's what I kept seeing as I stood there, even though I was looking at the crowd. The way her expression shifted from confusion to concern in the space of a heartbeat. She'd worn her best dress, the navy blue one she saved for special occasions. She'd gotten her hair done that morning. I knew because she'd sent me a photo, excited, asking if I thought it looked nice. She'd been so happy about this wedding. Her only son, finally settling down with a good woman. Good woman. The words tasted like poison now. "Michael, what are you doing?" Sarah's voice was barely a whisper, but in the sudden silence of the church it carried. She reached for my hand. I stepped back. "Don't," I said. Not angry, not yet, just empty. "Don't touch me." My father's hand tightened on my shoulder. "Son, this isn't the time or place. Let go of me." I shrugged him off, and he stumbled back slightly, surprise flickering across his face. I'd never spoken to him like that. Never. He was my father. You didn't disrespect your father, especially not in front of a church full of people. That's what he'd taught me. Respect, honor, family, family. What a joke. I pulled my phone from my jacket pocket. I'd put the video file on there this morning, sitting in the groom's room, while my groomsmen laughed and made jokes and took shots of whiskey. I'd smiled along with them, checked my phone one more time to make sure the file was still there, and then I'd walk down that aisle with my father beside me. 3 months ago, I began, my voice steady now, projecting to the back rows. I installed security cameras in my house. Just basic ones, you know, after the break-ins in the neighborhood. Sarah was nervous. I looked at her. She'd gone completely white. "You remember, don't you? You said you'd feel safer with cameras. Isn't that ironic?" "Michael, please!" She was crying now, mascara starting to run, But I felt nothing, no sympathy, no regret, nothing but this cold, hollow anger. I was at a conference 3 weeks ago, couldn't sleep, jet lag, so I checked the cameras just to see the house. I held up my phone. Want to know what I found? The church was so quiet, I could hear someone's stomach growl 3 rows back. My mother had her hand over her mouth. My father had taken another step away from me, and I could see it in his face now. The recognition that this was real, that I actually knew, that his world was about to implode. I found my father's car in my driveway at 11 o'clock at night, 3 hours after he'd supposedly gone home. I turned to look at him directly. You remember that night, Dad, when you came to fix the electrical problem? Except there was no electrical problem, was there? Michael, his voice cracked. Not here. We can talk about this, but not here, not like this. Where then? I cut him off. Where exactly should we have this conversation? At Sunday dinner, over Christmas turkey, or maybe in my living room on my couch, where you and Sarah could explain it to me together? Sarah made a sound like she'd been punched. Oh, God. 3 months, I said, looking out at all those faces, seeing my aunts and uncles, my cousins, my friends from college, Sarah's family in their expensive suits. 3 months of them sneaking around behind my back. 3 months while I was planning this wedding, while I was excited about starting a life with this woman, while my father, my own father, stood in my kitchen and gave me advice about marriage. I could see my Uncle Robert starting to stand up, his face red, but my aunt pulled him back down. Good. I didn't need anyone trying to stop this. It was too late for that. I watched the footage, I continued. All of it, every visit, every lie. I watched my father, who taught me about integrity and honesty and being a man, betray me with the woman I was going to marry. My voice finally started to crack, and I hated myself for it, but I pushed through. So no, Sarah. I don't take you to be my lawfully wedded wife. I don't take you to be anything except a liar and a cheat. She collapsed, actually collapsed, like her legs just gave out, and she fell to her knees on the altar steps, sobbing. One of her bridesmaids, Jessica, her sister, rushed forward to help her, shooting me a look of pure hatred, like I was the villain here, like I'd done something wrong. My father just stood there, frozen. He'd aged 10 years in the last 2 minutes. His face was grey, his mouth opening and closing like a fish drowning in air. Thomas. My mother's voice cut through everything. She was standing now, gripping the pew in front of her. Thomas, what is he talking about? The way he looked at her, I'll never forget it. Pure guilt, pure shame. And in that moment, watching him try to find words that wouldn't come, I realized something that made everything so much worse. My mother hadn't known either. She'd been betrayed too by the same man, the man she'd been married to for 34 years, the man she'd built a life with, raised a son with, trusted completely. Linda, I can explain, he started, but she was already walking, not running, walking with this terrifying dignity down the aisle toward the exit. People scrambled to get out of her way. Mom! I called after her, but she didn't stop, didn't even look back. The church erupted, everyone talking at once, people standing, Sarah's mother screaming something at me, my groomsmen trying to figure out what to do, the pastor just standing there, looking absolutely lost. It was chaos. Beautiful, terrible chaos. I should have felt satisfied. This was what I'd planned, wasn't it? The public humiliation. The exposure, making them feel even a fraction of what I'd felt sitting in that hotel room, watching my life disintegrate on a 5-inch screen. But I didn't feel satisfied. I felt sick. I pushed through the crowd, following my mother. She'd made it to the parking lot, was fumbling with her car keys, her hands shaking so badly she kept dropping them. Mom, wait. Don't. She held up a hand, still not looking at me. Don't say anything right now, Michael. I can't hear it right now. I'm sorry. The words felt inadequate, pathetic. I didn't know how else to... You did the right thing. Her voice was flat, dead. Better you found out now than after you married her. Better I found out now than... She trailed off, finally got the keys in the lock. Then never. Where are you going? I don't know. She opened the car door, paused, and finally looked at me. Her eyes were dry, but only because she hadn't let herself cry yet. I could see the tears building, threatening to spill over. Somewhere that isn't here. Somewhere I can think. Somewhere I don't have to look at him. Let me come with you. No. She shook her head. You've done enough damage for one day. And I mean that as a compliment. The ghost of a smile touched her lips, gone before it really arrived. You're stronger than I thought, Michael. Stronger than him. She got in the car and drove away, leaving me standing in the parking lot in my tuxedo, while behind me the church doors burst open and people started flooding out, everyone shouting, everyone needing to know what happened, everyone treating this like entertainment instead of the destruction of my entire family. I saw my father emerge, Sarah clinging to his arm, because of course she was. They had each other, didn't they? They'd had each other for 3 months. What was one more day? He saw me watching and stopped. For a moment we just stared at each other across 30 feet of parking lot, father and son, or whatever we were now. Then he turned away, helping Sarah into his car, not hers. And they drove off together, and I stood there surrounded by confused guests and abandoned rice bags and flower petals that no one had thrown, thinking about how 10 minutes ago I'd been someone's fiancé and someone's son and someone's future son-in-law. Now I was just a man who'd blown up his entire life on a Sunday afternoon. The worst part, I still had to figure out what came next. I didn't go home that night. Couldn't. The house wasn't mine anymore, not really. It was contaminated, infected with memories I couldn't scrub out no matter how hard I tried. Every room held some evidence of my stupidity, my blindness. The couch, the kitchen where my father had stood drinking coffee while I talked about honeymoon plans. The bedroom where Sarah had slept beside me, warm and soft, while God knows what went through her head. Instead, I checked into a hotel. Nothing fancy. A Holiday Inn off the highway with thin walls and a view of the parking lot. I sat on the edge of the bed, still wearing my tuxedo, the bow tie undone and hanging around my neck, and I finally let myself feel it. All of it. The anger, the humiliation, the grief for something I'd thought was real but never had been. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. I'd turned off the sound, but I could see it lighting up every few seconds. Sarah, my father, Sarah again. Jessica, Sarah's sister, probably calling to tell me what a monster I was. Some of my groomsmen. A few numbers I didn't recognize. Probably reporters because, of course, someone had already posted about it online. Nothing stays private anymore. I ignored all of them except one. My mother called at 9:30, and I answered on the first ring. Mum? I'm at your Aunt Carol's. Her voice sounded stronger now, more composed. She's making up the guest room for me. I'll stay here for a while. Good, that's good. I didn't know what else to say. Are you? No, she cut me off. I'm not okay, but I will be, eventually. A pause. Have you eaten anything? Only my mother would think about that at a time like this. I almost laughed. No. There's a diner 2 blocks from that Holiday Inn. I know that's where you are. I can track your phone, remember? I set that up after you got lost at the state fair when you were 12. I could hear the smallest hint of warmth in her voice. Go eat something. Doesn't matter what. Just eat. Mom, about Dad. I don't want to talk about your father. The warmth vanished instantly, replaced by ice. Not tonight. Maybe not ever, but Michael, what you did today. I know it felt cruel, I know people are going to say terrible things about how you handled it, but you gave me the truth. However messy, however painful, you gave me the truth. And that's more than he's given me in months." After we hung up, I sat there for another 20 minutes before forcing myself to stand. She was right. I needed to eat, even though the thought of food made my stomach turn. I changed into the jeans and t-shirt I kept in my car for emergencies. Ironic, since I'd packed them thinking I might need them after the honeymoon if we went hiking or something casual. Instead, I was using them to not look like a runaway groom in a hotel diner. The diner was mostly empty. A couple of truckers at the counter, an elderly woman in a corner booth picking at a piece of pie, and a tired-looking waitress who showed me to a table without really seeing me. I ordered coffee and a burger I knew I wouldn't finish. That's when I saw him, my younger cousin, Derek. He was sitting 3 booths away, and the look on his face told me he'd been at the wedding. He'd seen everything. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then he stood up, grabbed his coffee cup and slid into my booth without asking. "That was the most insane thing I've ever witnessed," he said. No judgment in his voice, just statement of fact. "And I once saw a guy drive his car into a swimming pool on purpose." Despite everything, I felt my mouth twitch. Almost a smile. "Yeah, it was pretty insane." "Your dad left with Sarah?" Derek took a sip of his coffee. "In case you were wondering, they drove off together. Her family is losing their minds. Her mother was screaming about the deposits, the venue, the catering, like that's what matters right now." "Where did they go?" "No idea. But Uncle Thomas has been calling everyone in the family, trying to explain himself. He called my mum first. Bad choice. She told him to lose her number and hung up on him." Derek leaned back. "Most of the family is on your side, by the way. Grandma Martha said, and I quote, 'That boy always was a snake in expensive shoes.' She was talking about your dad, not you." I closed my eyes. Grandma Martha. She was 86 years old, sharp as a tack, and had never particularly liked my father. Always said he was too smooth, too charming, said men like that couldn't be trusted. Guess she'd been right. "How bad is it online?" I asked. Derek grimaced. "Pretty bad. Someone recorded the whole thing. It's on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. You're kind of viral. There are already memes." Of course there were, my humiliation, packaged into digestible content for strangers to consume with their morning coffee. "Great. For what it's worth," Derek said quietly. "I think you did the right thing. What you said up there, about watching the cameras, finding out they'd been lying for months, man, I can't even imagine. If that had been me, I don't know if I would have held it together long enough to make it to the wedding. I probably would have confronted them immediately. I thought about it. The waitress brought my burger. I picked at the bun without really seeing it. Every day for 3 weeks I thought about confronting them, but something stopped me. I think part of me needed witnesses, needed everyone to see what they'd done, so they couldn't lie about it later, couldn't rewrite history and make me the bad guy. "They're still going to try," Derek warned. "Sarah's already posting on social media, making herself the victim, saying you embarrassed her, that you could have handled it privately." I laughed. Actually laughed. It came out bitter and sharp. Privately. Like they handled their affair privately. In my house. On my couch. While I was working to pay for that house, to save for our wedding. "Hey, I'm not defending her." Derek held up his hands. "Just telling you what she's saying. Her comment section is divided. Some people feel bad for her. A lot more are calling her out. It's messy. Messy. That was one word for it. We sat in silence for a while. I managed to eat about half the burger, and the coffee actually helped. Gave me something to do with my hands. Derek didn't push me to talk, didn't ask intrusive questions. He just sat there, present, and somehow that was exactly what I needed. "What are you going to do now?" he finally asked. I don't know. It was the truth. I can't go back to that house, can't see them, can't... I trailed off. I thought I had my whole life figured out. Wedding, marriage, kids eventually. Maybe buy a bigger house in a few years. Boring, normal stuff. And now it's just gone, all of it. Not all of it, Derek said. You still have your job, your mom, most of the family, your friends. The real ones anyway. The ones who actually care about you and not just the drama. He was right, but it didn't feel like much. Not compared to what I'd lost, or thought I'd lost. The problem was, I was starting to realize I hadn't actually lost anything real. You can't lose something you never really had. My phone buzzed. Another call from my father. I watched it ring until it went to voicemail. You're going to have to talk to him eventually, Derek said. No, I don't. Michael, I don't owe him anything. The anger was rising again, hot and acidic in my throat. He's the one who betrayed me. He's the one who destroyed this family, not me, him. So no, I don't have to talk to him. Not now. Maybe not ever. Derek nodded slowly. Fair enough. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't open it, but something made me click. This is Attorney Richard Walsh. Your father gave me your number. I represent him and Sarah. They'd like to arrange a meeting to discuss the situation. Please call my office to schedule a time. I stared at the message for a long moment, then showed it to Derek. Holy shit, he breathed. They got a lawyer? For what? That was the question, wasn't it? What exactly did they think they needed legal representation for? Were they worried I'd sue them, or were they planning something else? I typed back a single word, no. Then I blocked the number. You know this isn't over, right? Derek said gently. The lawyer thing. That means they're planning something, probably trying to protect themselves, or maybe they're worried about the house, your assets, who knows, but it's not over. I know. But sitting there in that cheap diner booth, eating a mediocre burger at 10 o'clock at night, while my cousin tried to help me pick up the pieces of my destroyed life, I realized something important. I didn't want it to be over. Not yet. Because there were still things I didn't know, still questions I needed answers to. Like how long had they really been planning this? Had she ever loved me, or was I always just a placeholder? And my father, why? Why would he do this to his own son? I needed those answers, and I was going to get them, whether they wanted to give them to me or not. The house had to be dealt with eventually. I'd been avoiding it for 4 days, living out of that hotel room, wearing the same 3 outfits, ordering takeout, and trying to figure out what my life looked like now. But I couldn't avoid it forever. The house was in my name, only mine. Sarah had moved in 2 years ago, but she'd never been on the deed, never contributed to the mortgage. It was mine, and I needed to go back. I went during the day, when I knew she'd be at work. At least I hoped she'd be at work. For all I knew, she'd quit, run off with my father somewhere, started a new life. Part of me hoped that's exactly what they'd done. It would make everything simpler. The house looked the same from the outside. Same blue shutters, same little garden that Sarah had planted last spring, same mailbox with our names on it. Well, my name and her name. Names that were supposed to become one. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, staring at it, before I could force myself to go inside. The door was unlocked. That should have been my first warning. I stepped into the entryway and immediately knew something was wrong. The house was too quiet, but not empty quiet. There was a presence, a tension in the air. "Hello, Michael." I turned. My father was sitting in my living room, on my couch, the same couch where I'd watched him with Sarah on those security cameras. He looked terrible, unshaven, his clothes wrinkled, his eyes red-rimmed. He'd aged a decade in 4 days. "Get out." My voice was flat, cold. "We need to talk." "No, we don't. Get out of my house." He stood slowly, his hands up in a placating gesture. "Just 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. 5 minutes, and then I'll leave. You deserve an explanation. I don't want your explanations. I want you out. Michael, please. You broke into my house. I was shaking now, rage building faster than I could control it. You don't have a key anymore. I changed the locks. So either Sarah let you in, which means she's here too, or you actually broke in. Which is it? He had the decency to look ashamed. Sarah gave me her key before she moved out. Yesterday. She's staying with her sister now. She was too afraid to face you. Good. She should be afraid. I pulled out my phone. I'm calling the cops. You're trespassing. I'm your father. No. The word came out sharp, final. You're not. A father doesn't do what you did. A father doesn't betray his son. A father doesn't sleep with his son's fiancée. So no, you're not my father. You're just a man who happens to share my DNA, and right now you're trespassing in my house. He flinched like I'd hit him. Good. I wanted him to hurt. Wanted him to feel even a fraction of what I'd felt. I never meant for this to happen, he said quietly. You have to believe that. I don't have to believe anything you say. Ever again. It happened. We didn't plan it. Sarah and I, we were spending time together because of the wedding planning, and we started talking, really talking, and there was this connection. Stop. I held up my hand. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear about your connection or how it just happened. Affairs don't just happen. You made choices. Both of you. Every single time you came to this house, every lie you told, every moment you looked me in the eye and pretended everything was fine, those were choices. You're right. He slumped back onto the couch, and I hated that he looked so defeated. I wanted him to fight back, to give me a reason to escalate this, to make it easier to hate him completely. You're absolutely right. We made choices, terrible choices, and I know I can never take them back. But, Michael, you need to understand. I love her. The room tilted. For a second, I thought I might actually be sick. What did you just say? I love her. He looked up at me, and there were tears in his eyes, real tears. I know how that sounds. I know how wrong it is, but it's the truth. I love Sarah, and she loves me. It's not just physical. It's real. I laughed. I couldn't help it. The sound came out harsh and broken, echoing off the walls of my living room. You love her. The woman who was going to marry your son. The woman half your age. The woman you've known for 2 years. You love her. I know you can't understand. You're right. I can't. Because I'm not a narcissistic sociopath. I moved closer to him, and he actually leaned back, like he was afraid I might hit him. Maybe I should have. Maybe that's what he deserved. Let me tell you what I understand. I understand that you're a selfish, pathetic man who threw away his marriage, his family, his son, for what? For some midlife crisis fantasy? For a woman young enough to be your daughter? It's not like that. Then what is it like? Explain it to me, Dad. I spat the word out like poison. Explain how you justified this to yourself. How did you look at Mom across the dinner table every Sunday? How did you shake my hand and congratulate me on the engagement? How did you stand next to me at that altar, knowing what you'd done? He was crying now, openly, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no softening, just this cold, burning rage. I tried to stop it, he said. After the first time, I told Sarah we couldn't do it again, that it was wrong, that we'd both regret it. But then I'd see her, and I couldn't help myself. She made me feel alive, young, like I mattered. You did matter, I was shouting now. You mattered to Mom. You mattered to me. But that wasn't enough for you, was it? We weren't enough. Your mother and I, we'd been having problems. Don't you dare, I pointed at him. Don't you dare blame Mom for this. She didn't make you cheat. She didn't push you into another woman's bed. You did that all by yourself. I'm not blaming her. I'm just trying to explain. There is no explanation that makes this okay. My voice cracked. There's no story you can tell, no context you can give that justifies what you did to me, to us, to this family. Silence fell between us, heavy and suffocating. Outside, I could hear a dog barking, a car driving past, normal life continuing while mine lay in pieces. I came here to ask for your forgiveness, my father said finally. I know I don't deserve it. I know it might take years, maybe decades, but you're my son, Michael, my only son, and I can't lose you. I can't live with you hating me. Then you should have thought of that before you touched her. I'm human. I made a mistake. A mistake? I cut him off. A mistake is forgetting to take out the trash. A mistake is being late to dinner. What you did wasn't a mistake. It was a choice, multiple choices over and over again for 3 months. He stood up, and for a moment I thought he might try to hug me. If he had, I don't know what I would have done. But he just stood there, looking lost. What do you want from me? He asked. Tell me what to do. Tell me how to fix this. You can't fix it. The words came out quieter now, tired. It's broken. We're broken. You and Mom, you and me, all of it. And you did that. So no, I won't forgive you. I won't pretend this is okay. I won't play happy family and act like nothing happened. So what then? We just never speak again. I never see you again. I don't know. And I didn't. I hadn't thought that far ahead. Maybe. Maybe that's exactly what happens. Maybe you get to spend the rest of your life with Sarah and you lose everything else. Your wife, your son, your family. Maybe that's the price. Michael, get out. I turned away from him. Couldn't look at his face anymore. Get out of my house. Give me the key. And don't come back. I heard him moving behind me, heard the soft clink of a key being placed on the coffee table, heard his footsteps toward the door. Then they stopped. I'm sorry, he said. For whatever it's worth, I'm truly sorry. It's worth nothing. The door closed behind him. I stood there in my living room, surrounded by all the furniture and pictures and memories of a life that didn't exist anymore, and I finally let myself feel it. The full weight of what I'd lost. Not just Sarah, not just my father, but the entire foundation I'd built my life on. The belief that family was solid, that parents were supposed to protect you, that the people you loved wouldn't destroy you. All of it. Gone. I pulled out my phone and called my mother. He was here, I said when she answered. At the house, waiting for me. What did he want? Forgiveness. Understanding. He said he loves her. My mother was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was different. Harder. Then he's truly lost. Because you don't destroy your family for love. You don't betray the people who trusted you most. That's not love. That's selfishness. That's cowardice. Mum, I filed for divorce this morning, she said. My lawyer says it should be straightforward. 34 years of marriage ended because your father couldn't keep his pants on. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. The house is in both our names. I'm going to make sure I get my half. Every penny I'm entitled to. He can use his share to build a new life with her. See how long that lasts when reality sets in. I'm sorry. It felt inadequate, but I didn't know what else to say. Don't be. You freed me, Michael. That day at the church, when you exposed them, you freed both of us. Now we get to decide what comes next, without them. After we hung up, I walked through the house one more time. Every room felt contaminated now. I couldn't stay here, couldn't rebuild my life in a place that held so many ghosts. I'd sell it, start over somewhere new, somewhere Sarah had never been, somewhere my father had never sat on my couch and destroyed my world. But first, I had one more thing to do. I opened my laptop and went to the security camera footage. I downloaded all of it, backed it up in 3 different places. Insurance, in case anyone tried to rewrite history, in case anyone tried to make me the villain. And then I started going through it frame by frame, looking for something I'd missed, some clue, some answer to the question that kept echoing in my head. When did it really start, and why? The footage told a story I hadn't wanted to see, not the obvious one. The affair, the betrayal, the lies. I'd already lived through that nightmare. No, this was something deeper, something that made my skin crawl the more I watched. It started earlier than I'd thought, much earlier. I'd only gone back 3 months when I first discovered them, only reviewed the clips from my business trip and a few days before. But now, sitting in that house with nothing but time and rage, I went back further. 6 months? 8 months? A year. The first time my father appeared on camera alone with Sarah was 11 months ago, Thanksgiving weekend. I'd gone to pick up my mother from the airport. She'd been visiting her sister in Florida, and I'd left Sarah at home because she wasn't feeling well. Said she had a migraine. My father had stopped by with leftovers from dinner. On the footage, they were in the kitchen, just talking at first, normal conversation. But I watched his body language, the way he leaned against the counter, the way she laughed at something he said. Too comfortable, too familiar. And then, so quick I almost missed it. His hand brushed her arm. Not an accident, deliberate, testing. And she didn't pull away. I felt sick watching it. This was before they'd actually done anything, before they'd crossed that final line. But it was the beginning. The moment when they both acknowledged something unspoken between them. The moment everything changed. I kept watching. December, January, February. The touches became more frequent, longer. His visits became more regular, always when I wasn't home. They'd talk for hours, sitting close on that couch, and I could see it building between them. The tension, the anticipation, the inevitable. The first time they kissed was in March. I'd been at a late meeting, told Sarah I wouldn't be home until 9. My father showed up at 7:30 with some excuse about dropping off a tool he'd borrowed. The kiss happened in the hallway, right by the front door. Tentative at first, then deeper. More urgent. Then Sarah pulled back, shaking her head, and I could see her mouth forming the word no. My father nodded, backed away, left. 2 days later, he was back. And this time, she didn't say no. I watched it all. Every visit. Every lie. I catalogued them in a spreadsheet, timestamps and descriptions, building a timeline of betrayal that was even worse than I'd imagined. Because it wasn't just sex. It wasn't just physical. They'd built something together, a relationship that had depth and time and all the things that made it real. My father had been right about one thing. He did love her. And that made it so much worse. It was almost midnight when I heard the knock on the door. I wasn't expecting anyone, and for a paranoid moment I thought it might be my father again, coming back to plead his case. But when I checked the security camera feed on my laptop, I saw someone I hadn't expected. Sarah. She was alone, standing on the porch in jeans and a sweater, her hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked exhausted. Small, nothing like the woman who'd stood beside me at that altar 5 days ago. I should have ignored her, should have let her knock until she gave up and left, but some part of me needed this confrontation, needed to hear what she had to say, needed to look her in the eye and see if there was any remorse there or just more lies. I opened the door, but didn't invite her in. Michael. Her voice was hoarse, like she'd been crying. Probably had been. Can we talk? No. Please. I know you hate me. I know you have every right to. But I need to explain. Explain what? I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Explain how you fell in love with my father. He already told me that part. Said you two have a real connection. Said it just happened. She flinched. It wasn't supposed to happen. I never wanted to hurt you. And yet here we are. I know. She wrapped her arms around herself. I know what we did was unforgivable. But Michael, you have to understand, your father and we tried to stop, multiple times. We knew it was wrong, but it was like something neither of us could control. That's bullshit. I kept my voice level, emotionless. You could have controlled it. Every time he showed up at this door, you could have said no. Every time I left for work, you could have called me, told me the truth. You had 1,000 opportunities to do the right thing, and you chose this instead. I was going to tell you. She took a step closer. Before the wedding, I swear I was going to tell you. I couldn't go through with marrying you while lying about this. But then every time I tried to say the words, I'd see your face, how happy you were, and I couldn't what? Couldn't take responsibility, couldn't face the consequences of your actions, couldn't hurt you. Tears were streaming down her face now. Michael, I did love you. I do love you. What I feel for your father, it doesn't erase what we had. What we had was a lie. I pushed off the doorframe, stood up straight. Every moment of the last year, every time you told me you loved me, every plan we made together, all of it was a lie, because you were with him. You were building something with him while I was planning our future. It wasn't all a lie. Yes, it was. The control I'd been holding on to shattered. You stood in front of me every single day and lied. You let me put a ring on your finger knowing you'd already betrayed me. You let me plan a wedding, book a venue, send out invitations, all while you were sleeping with my father. I'm sorry. She was sobbing now. I'm so sorry, Michael. If I could go back and change it. But you can't. And even if you could, would you? Would you really give him up? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you made your choice. You chose him over me, over us, over everything we were supposed to be. She didn't answer, couldn't answer, because we both knew the truth. He left Mom, I said quietly. Did you know that? He moved out yesterday, got an apartment downtown, 1 bedroom from what I heard. Guess he's making room for you. Her face went pale. He didn't tell me. Of course he didn't, because this is real now. This isn't sneaking around, stolen moments, the thrill of the forbidden. This is real life. He left his wife of 34 years. For you. So congratulations, Sarah. You won. This isn't winning. Her voice was barely a whisper. None of this is winning. Then why are you here? What do you want from me? She looked up at me, and I saw something in her eyes I hadn't expected. Not guilt, not remorse, fear. I think I made a mistake, she said. The words hung in the air between us. For a moment I couldn't process them. What? Your father. He's different now. Now that it's real. Now that we don't have to hide. He's talking about us moving away together, starting fresh somewhere new, getting married eventually. She wiped at her tears, and I realized I don't want that. I don't want to be the woman who destroyed a family. I don't want to be with a man old enough to be my father. I don't want— Stop! I held up my hand. Just stop. Michael, I made a horrible mistake. I got caught up in something I didn't understand, and now I can see how wrong it all was. But maybe we can fix this. Maybe we can— Are you insane? I stared at her, genuinely confused. Do you actually think I would take you back, after everything? We had something real. She reached for my hand. I jerked it away. Before all this, we had something real. We can get that back. We can go to therapy, work through this. There is no we anymore. There never will be again. Please. She was begging now, actually begging. I can't be with him. I can't live with what we've done. But I can't be alone either. Michael, I love you. I still love you. You love the security I represent. You love not having to face the consequences of your choices. But you don't love me. You never did. That's not true. Get out. I started to close the door. She put her hand against it, stopping me. Your father and I— It's not what you think. He's become obsessed. He calls me 20 times a day, shows up at my work. He's talking about me quitting my job, saying he'll take care of me, that we should leave the state." She was talking faster now, panic creeping into her voice. "I tried to end it after the wedding, told him we should both just disappear, go our separate ways, but he won't let go. He says we're meant to be together, that he destroyed his life for me, and I owe him—" I yanked the door open so fast she stumbled backward. "He said you owe him?" She nodded, wrapping her arms around herself again. "He's not the man I thought he was. When it was secret, when we were hiding, he was gentle, romantic, but now he's different, intense, almost scary sometimes." Something cold settled in my stomach. "Has he hurt you?" "No, not physically. But Michael, I'm scared. I think he might—" She cut herself off, shook her head. "Never mind. Forget I said anything." "Might what? Sarah, what do you think he might do?" "Nothing. I'm just being paranoid. I should go." She turned to leave. "Sarah," my voice stopped her. "If you're in danger, you need to tell someone. My father. I don't know what he's capable of anymore. I thought I knew him, but I was wrong about everything else." She looked back at me, and in that moment, I saw genuine terror in her eyes. "He knows about money your mother doesn't know about," she said quietly. "Accounts he's been hiding. He told me about them, said we'd use that money to start our new life. But Michael, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe more. Money he's been hiding from his own wife for years." The world tilted again. "What are you talking about?" "I shouldn't have said anything. I'm sorry. She backed away. "I need to go. This was a mistake. Coming here was a mistake." "Dear Sarah, wait." But she was already running to her car, getting in, driving away before I could process what she'd just told me. I stood in the doorway, my mind racing. Hidden money, hundreds of thousands of dollars. My father had been planning something, and the affair with Sarah wasn't the only secret he'd been keeping. I pulled out my phone and called my mother. "Mom," I said when she answered, "I need you to check something for me. Your financial statements, the tax returns, everything. I think Dad's been hiding money from you." "What? Michael, what are you talking about? Just check, please. I'll explain everything, but I need you to look at the records first. See if there's anything that doesn't add up." After we hung up, I went back inside and sat down at my laptop. The security footage was still paused on the screen, frozen on an image of my father and Sarah from months ago, smiling at each other like they had no idea what they were about to destroy. But maybe they'd known exactly what they were doing. Maybe my father had been planning this for longer than any of us realized. And if he'd been hiding money, lying about finances, what else had he lied about? I spent the rest of the night digging through everything I could find online, bank records I had access to, credit card statements, tax documents my parents had filed jointly, and slowly a picture started to emerge. A picture of a man who'd been preparing for something, who'd been moving money, making arrangements, building an escape route. My father hadn't fallen into this affair accidentally. He'd been planning an exit for years. And now I needed to figure out why. My mother called back at 3 a.m. I was still awake, still staring at spreadsheets and bank statements, trying to make sense of the numbers that didn't add up. "You were right." Her voice was tight, controlled, the kind of control that comes right before an explosion. "There are accounts I never knew about, credit cards in his name only, a safety deposit box I've never seen. Michael, how did you know?" "Sarah told me. She came by the house tonight." Silence. Then, "She was at your house? Why?" "She wanted to get back together." I almost laughed saying it out loud. It sounded even more insane than it had felt. "Said she made a mistake, that Dad's obsessed with her now, calling her constantly, showing up at her work. She's scared of him." "Good." No sympathy in my mother's voice. "She should be scared. They both should be." "Mom, how much money are we talking about?" "I don't know yet. I've only scratched the surface. But from what I can see, Michael, there's at least $200,000 that I can't account for, maybe more. Money that should have gone into our retirement accounts, our savings, just gone. And the worst part? Some of these accounts go back 15 years. 15 years. I was still in high school 15 years ago. My father had been planning his escape since I was a teenager. There's something else, my mother continued. I found emails. He was sloppy about deleting them from his cloud storage. Emails to Sarah, obviously, but also to other women. Michael, your father has been having affairs for years. Multiple affairs. Sarah isn't the first. She's just the first one that got serious. The room started spinning. I pressed my hand against the desk to steady myself. Other women. At least 3 that I can confirm, maybe more. One of them was 5 years ago, lasted about 8 months. Another one was brief, just a few weeks. There's evidence of others, but I can't prove anything yet. She paused. Your father is not the man I thought he was. He's not the man either of us thought he was. I'm sorry, Mom. Stop apologizing for him. You didn't do this. He did. I heard her take a deep breath. I'm meeting with my lawyer again in the morning. If he's been hiding assets, that's fraud, financial infidelity. The judge will not look kindly on that. I'm going to take him for everything he's worth. What about Sarah? What do we do about her? Nothing. Let her deal with the monster she helped create. She chose him. She can live with the consequences. After we hung up, I couldn't sit still anymore. I needed to move, to think, to do something other than drown in the revelations that kept piling up. My father wasn't just a cheater. He was a serial cheater, a liar, a fraud. Everything about him had been a performance. I grabbed my keys and drove. No destination in mind, just driving through empty streets at 4 in the morning, trying to outrun the thoughts in my head. But they followed me, relentless. Had he ever loved my mother? Had he ever been faithful to her even in the beginning? Or had their entire marriage been built on lies? And what about me? Had he ever really been proud of me? Or was I just another prop in the life he'd constructed? The dutiful son who made him look good, who gave him cover, who never questioned anything because I trusted him completely. I ended up at a 24-hour diner on the edge of town. Different from the one where I'd met Derek, but the same kind of place. Fluorescent lights, coffee that tasted like burnt water, a waitress who looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. I ordered coffee and sat in a corner booth, pulling out my phone. I had 17 missed calls from my father, 12 from Sarah, 6 voicemails I hadn't listened to. I should have deleted them all, blocked their numbers, moved on. Instead, I listened to the first voicemail. My father's voice filled my ear. Michael, it's Dad. I know you don't want to talk to me, but I need you to hear this. Sarah came to see me tonight. She's hysterical. Says she went to your house, said things she shouldn't have said, things that aren't true. I need you to know that she's unstable right now. She's not thinking clearly. Whatever she told you about me, about us, you can't trust it. She's trying to manipulate you, turn you against me even more than you already are. Please, son, call me back. We need to talk about this before she does any more damage. I deleted it and moved to the next one, Sarah this time. Michael, I'm so sorry about earlier. I shouldn't have come to your house. I shouldn't have said those things about your father. I was confused, scared, but I'm okay now. We talked, your dad and I, and we worked things out. Everything I said was just me being emotional. Please don't tell your mother about the money. It's not what I made it sound like. Your dad can explain everything. Just, please don't make this worse than it already is. Her voice sounded strange, flat, like she was reading from a script. The next voicemail was my father again. Michael, I'm begging you. Whatever Sarah told you about hidden money, it's a misunderstanding. Yes, I have some accounts your mother doesn't know about, but it's not what you think. It's money I've been saving for you, for your future. A trust fund I was going to surprise you with. I didn't want your mother to know because she would have insisted we use it for other things, but it's yours. It's always been meant for you. Please call me. Let me explain properly. A trust fund, for me, that he'd been hiding for 15 years. I didn't believe him, not for a second. The voicemails continued in the same pattern. My father trying to explain, to justify, to spin some story that made him look less guilty. Sarah backing up whatever he said, her voice getting more robotic with each message, like someone was standing over her shoulder telling her what to say. The last voicemail was different. My father, and he sounded drunk, or desperate, or both. You ruined everything. His voice was slurred, angry. You couldn't just let it go. Couldn't handle it like an adult. You had to make a scene, embarrass me in front of everyone, destroy my reputation. Your mother is taking everything. My house, my retirement, my dignity, and for what? Because I fell in love? Because I wanted to be happy? You're a selfish, ungrateful son. After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me? By turning everyone against me? By ruining my life? There was a long pause, and I thought the message was over. Then his voice came back, quieter now, more dangerous. You think you're so smart, think you've figured everything out, but you don't know the half of it, Michael. You don't know what I'm capable of, what I've done, what I'm willing to do. So back off, stop digging, stop turning your mother against me, stop interfering with me and Sarah, or I swear to God you'll regret it. The message ended. I sat there in that diner booth, staring at my phone, my coffee going cold in front of me. My father had just threatened me, his own son. The mask had finally come off completely, and underneath was something ugly, something I'd never seen before. Or maybe I had seen it, and I just hadn't wanted to believe it was real. I thought about all the times growing up when he'd been just a little too controlling, when he'd manipulated situations to go his way, when he'd used money to get what he wanted, when he'd been charming and persuasive one moment, then cold and calculating the next. I'd written it off as him being strong-willed, a good businessman, someone who knew how to get things done. But what if it was more than that? What if my father was actually dangerous? My phone buzzed, a text from a number I didn't recognize, but I had a feeling I knew who it was. He's listening to everything I say, made me call you and take back what I told you, but it's all true. The money, the accounts, everything. He's been planning this for years, and Michael, there's more. Things I found in his apartment, documents. I think he might have done something illegal, something bad. I'm scared. Please help me. Before I could respond, another text came through. Don't reply to this. He checks my phone. I'll try to get away tomorrow. Meet me at the coffee shop on Madison Street. 2 p.m. Come alone. Don't tell anyone. If he finds out I'm talking to you, I don't know what he'll do. I stared at the messages. This could be a trap. Sarah could be working with my father, trying to lure me somewhere so he could, what? Threaten me in person, hurt me. But what if it was real? What if Sarah was actually in danger? What if my father had crossed some line I couldn't even imagine? The waitress came by with more coffee. I waved her off. I needed to think clearly, and caffeine wasn't going to help. I pulled up Derek's number and sent him a text. Just a simple message. If something happens to me, check my cloud storage. Password is Mom's birthday. Everything is there. Then I took screenshots of Sarah's texts and emailed them to myself, to my mother, and to Derek. Insurance, in case this went sideways. At 5:30, the sun started to rise. I drove back home through streets that were beginning to wake up, past people heading to work, living their normal lives, completely unaware that mine was spiraling into something dark and dangerous. I had 13 hours until the meeting with Sarah. 13 hours to decide if I was going to walk into what might be a trap. 13 hours to figure out exactly what kind of man my father really was and what he was capable of. I thought about calling the police. And tell them what? That my father was having an affair? That he had some hidden bank accounts? That he'd left a drunk, angry voicemail? None of that was illegal. Without proof of actual danger, they wouldn't do anything. No, I had to handle this myself. Had to see this through to whatever end was coming. When I got home, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went to my bedroom closet and pulled out the lockbox I kept on the top shelf. Inside was a handgun I'd bought years ago after taking a safety course, something I'd purchased after a series of home invasions in the area, but never actually thought I'd need. I checked it, made sure it was loaded, put it in my jacket pocket, just in case. Because if my father was really as dangerous as Sarah's text suggested, if he really was capable of hurting someone to protect his secrets, then I needed to be prepared for anything. I spent the rest of the morning going through more documents, more emails, building a clearer picture of who my father actually was, and what I found made my blood run cold. The hidden money wasn't just hidden, it had come from somewhere. And as I traced the transactions backward, following the digital trail, I realized it had come from his company, from accounts he'd managed, from clients who'd trusted him with their investments. My father hadn't just been hiding money from my mother. He'd been embezzling it. For 15 years, he'd been stealing from the people who trusted him, moving it into secret accounts, building his escape fund. And if anyone ever found out, if anyone ever started digging the way I was digging now, he'd go to prison for a very long time. And suddenly, Sarah's fear made perfect sense. She knew she'd figured it out. And now my father was trying to keep her quiet, trying to control her, because if she talked, if she went to the authorities, his entire world would collapse. I looked at the clock, 11 a.m., 3 hours until the meeting. I grabbed my phone and made one call, to my mother. "Mom," I said when she answered, "I need you to do something for me. Contact the police. Tell them I'm meeting someone at 2 p.m. who might be in danger. Give them the address. Tell them to have someone nearby. Just in case." "Michael, what's going on?" "I think Dad's been embezzling money from his company. I think that's where the hidden accounts came from, and I think Sarah knows about it. That's why she's scared. That's why he's trying to control her." My mother was quiet for a long moment. "If that's true, Michael, you shouldn't go to that meeting. Let the police handle it. I have to. She's reaching out to me for help. And whatever else she's done, whatever mistakes she's made, I can't just abandon her if she's really in danger." "Your father wouldn't actually hurt anyone, would he?" I thought about the voicemail, the threat in his voice, the desperation. "I don't know what he's capable of anymore, Mom, but I need to be ready for anything." "Be careful," her voice cracked. "Please, Michael, be careful." "I will, I promise." I hung up and sat there in my house, surrounded by all the evidence of my father's lies, waiting for 2 o'clock to arrive, waiting to find out just how far this nightmare was going to go. The coffee shop on Madison Street was one of those trendy places with exposed brick walls and overpriced lattes. I'd never been there before, which was probably why Sarah had chosen it. Neutral ground. Somewhere my father wouldn't think to look. I arrived 15 minutes early, parked across the street where I could watch the entrance. The gun felt heavy in my jacket pocket. I kept touching it, making sure it was still there, hoping I wouldn't need it, but grateful to have it anyway. At 1:55, Sarah's car pulled up. She sat in the driver's seat for a long moment, looking around nervously, checking her mirrors. Then she got out, hurried inside. I waited another minute, scanning the street for my father's car. Nothing. Just normal afternoon traffic, people going about their lives. I crossed the street and went inside. Sarah was in the back corner, hood pulled up despite the warm day, sunglasses on even though we were indoors. When she saw me, she didn't wave or smile, just nodded once, quickly. I ordered a coffee I wouldn't drink and joined her at the table. Up close, I could see she'd been crying. Her face was puffy, red. There was a bruise on her wrist, partially hidden by her sleeve. "He did that to you?" I gestured to her wrist. She pulled the sleeve down quickly. It's not what you think. Then what is it? He grabbed me. Last night, after I texted you. He saw the messages before I could delete them. Got angry. Said I was ruining everything, that I needed to stay quiet. She wrapped her arms around herself. He didn't mean to hurt me. He's under a lot of stress. Don't make excuses for him. I'm just... She stopped, looked around nervously. We don't have much time. He thinks I'm at the dentist. I have maybe 30 minutes before he starts calling. Sarah, you need to go to the police. I can't. You don't understand. If I talk to the police, if any of this comes out, he'll... She cut herself off, shook her head. He's been planning this for so long. The money, the affair, all of it. He told me things, Michael. Things I wish I didn't know. Like the embezzlement? Her eyes went wide. You know about that? I figured it out. Traced the money back to his company accounts. He's been stealing from clients for years. I leaned forward. That's why he's so desperate to control you. You're a witness. If you talk, he goes to prison. It's worse than that. She pulled a flash drive from her pocket, slid it across the table. I found this in his apartment, in a safe he thought I didn't know about. I got the combination from watching him open it one night when he was drunk. I picked up the flash drive. What's on it? Everything. Documents showing where the money came from, names of clients he stole from, offshore accounts, evidence of other affairs, including one with a woman who worked at his company. She tried to report him, said he'd coerced her, but he made it go away somehow. Paid her off, I think. Sarah's hands were shaking. And Michael, there's something else. Something about your mother. My blood ran cold. What about my mother? He took out life insurance policies on both of you. Huge policies. $2 million each. He did it about 3 years ago. She looked at me with terrified eyes. And there are emails on that drive. Emails to someone I don't recognize, talking about making things look like accidents. The world tilted. I gripped the table to steady myself. You're saying he was planning to kill us? I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe he was just fantasizing, thinking about ways to get the money without the divorce. I can't tell. But Michael, the emails are dated. The most recent one is from 2 weeks ago, right before your wedding. Right before my wedding. Right before I was supposed to marry Sarah and legally bind myself to her. Right before I would have been completely vulnerable. Why are you telling me this now? Why didn't you come forward sooner? Because I loved him. Tears spilled down her face. Or I thought I did. He made me feel special, chosen. He said your mother didn't understand him, that you were distant, that he'd been unhappy for years. He painted himself as this tragic figure, trapped in a life he didn't want. And I believed him. I actually believed him. But you don't anymore. No. Not after seeing what's on that drive. Not after realizing he's been manipulating me the same way he manipulated everyone else. I'm not special. I'm not chosen. I'm just another pawn in whatever sick game he's been playing. She grabbed my hand across the table. You have to take this to the police. You have to stop him before he hurts someone. Come with me. We'll go to the police together right now. I can't. If I disappear, if he can't find me, he'll know something's wrong. He'll run. He has money stashed everywhere, passports, connections. He told me about his escape plan, said we'd use it if anyone ever got close to discovering the truth. If he runs now, with all that evidence, they might never catch him. So what do you want me to do? Take the drive. Copy everything. Give it to the police, to your mother's lawyer, to whoever needs to see it. But give me 24 hours first. I'll keep him distracted, keep him thinking everything's fine. Then tomorrow I'll tell him I need some space. I'll go stay with my sister, somewhere he can't follow. Once I'm safe, once he can't get to me, then you can release everything. It made sense, but something felt off. Why the flash drive? Why not just email me the files? Because he monitors my email, my phone, everything. This was the only way to get the information to you without him knowing. She squeezed my hand. Please, Michael, I know I don't deserve your help. I know I destroyed everything between us, but I'm begging you. Help me get away from him. Help me make this right. I looked at her, really looked at her, trying to see past the tears and the fear to whatever truth was underneath. Was this real? Or was this another manipulation, another layer of lies in a family that had been built on nothing but deception? My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Police are on standby nearby. Say the word and they'll come in. I pocketed the phone, made my decision. 24 hours, I said. But if anything happens, if you're in any danger at all, you call 911 immediately. Don't worry about him running. Your safety is more important. Thank you. She stood up, pulled her hood back up. I should go. I've been here too long already. Sarah, I stopped her. Why did you do it? Why him? Why destroy everything we had? She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. Because I was stupid. Because he made me feel like I was the most important person in the world. And because deep down, I think I knew our relationship was safe, comfortable, and I was terrified of safe. She looked at me with something like regret. I wanted danger, excitement, the forbidden, and I got it. But it turns out danger isn't romantic, it's just dangerous. She left through the back exit. I sat there for another 5 minutes, the flash drive burning a hole in my pocket, before I got up and walked out to my car. The moment I was on the road, I called my mother. I have evidence, I said. Proof of the embezzlement, proof of other affairs, and Mom, there might be something worse, something about life insurance policies. Come home, she said immediately. Come to Carol's house. Bring everything. We'll call the police from here. And I drove straight there, checking my mirrors every few seconds to make sure I wasn't being followed. When I arrived, my mother was waiting on the porch with her lawyer and 2 police detectives. For the next 3 hours, we went through everything on the flash drive. Bank statements, emails, documents that painted a picture of a man who'd been living a double life for more than a decade. A man who'd stolen hundreds of thousands of dollars. A man who'd had multiple affairs with subordinates and clients' wives. A man who'd taken out massive life insurance policies on his wife and son and then sent emails discussing accidents. The detectives' faces grew darker as they read. The lawyer made notes furiously. My mother sat perfectly still, her face a mask of controlled fury. "This is enough for an arrest warrant," one of the detectives said finally. "Multiple counts of embezzlement, fraud, potentially conspiracy, if these emails about accidents are what they look like." "What about Sarah?" I asked. "She's still with him. She's in danger." "We'll pick her up first. Protective custody. Then we'll bring him in." The detective looked at me seriously. "You did the right thing bringing this to us. If even half of what's in these files is true, your father is a very dangerous man." And they left to get the warrants, to coordinate with other agencies, to build their case. My mother and I sat in Aunt Carol's living room, not speaking, just existing in the space where our family used to be. "I should have known," my mother said finally. "All those late nights, all those business trips, all those times he was distant, distracted, I should have seen it. He fooled everyone, Mom. That's what he does. He's a professional liar. Still, 34 years. How do you live with someone for 34 years and not know who they really are?" I didn't have an answer for that. My phone rang. Sarah's number. I answered on speaker. "Michael." Her voice was panicked. "He knows. I don't know how, but he knows. He came home early, said we need to leave right now, said someone's coming for him. He's packing bags, gathering cash. Michael, I think he's going to run." "Where are you?" "His apartment. He locked the door. Won't let me leave. Says I'm coming with him whether I like it or not." I heard shouting in the background, my father's voice, angry and desperate. "Michael, I'm scared. I think he—" The line went dead. I looked at my mother. She was already dialing 911. "My son's ex-fiancée is being held against her will," she said calmly into the phone. "The address is—" She rattled off my father's apartment address. "The man holding her is dangerous. He's planning to flee. You need to send someone now." We drove there anyway, my mother and me, even though the police told us to stay away. We needed to be there, needed to see how this ended. When we arrived, there were already 3 police cars outside the building. The detectives from earlier were there, along with uniformed officers. One of them tried to stop us from getting closer, but my mother pushed past with a determination I'd never seen in her before. "That's my husband in there," she said, "and God help me, I need to see his face when they bring him out." We waited behind the police barricade. Minutes crawled by. Then the apartment door opened and officers emerged with Sarah. She was crying, shaking, but alive, unharmed. They wrapped a blanket around her shoulders, led her to an ambulance. Then they brought out my father. He was in handcuffs, his face pale, his expensive suit rumpled. He looked smaller somehow, less imposing, just a man who'd finally run out of lies. His eyes found mine across the parking lot. For a moment we just stared at each other, father and son, stranger and stranger. He didn't look sorry. He didn't look ashamed. He looked angry, betrayed, like I was the one who'd done something wrong by refusing to let him destroy everything. "I gave you everything," he shouted as they pushed him toward the police car. "I raised you, I paid for your education, and this is how you repay me, by destroying me." "You destroyed yourself," I called back. "I just made sure everyone could see it." They put him in the car. He was still shouting, still trying to justify, to manipulate, to control the narrative even as it crumbled around him, but his voice was muffled by the glass. And finally, blessedly, silent as the car drove away. My mother let out a breath she'd been holding for what felt like years. She reached for my hand, and I took it. "It's over," she said, but we both knew it wasn't. Not really. There would be trials, testimonies, media coverage. There would be victims who'd lost money, families who'd been destroyed, women who'd been used. There would be lawyers and accountants and investigators picking through the remains of my father's lies for months, maybe years. And there would be healing, slow, painful healing, learning to trust again, learning to believe that not everyone was a liar, that not every smile hid a knife. But standing there in that parking lot, watching the sun set over a day that had changed everything, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Free. Free from the lies. Free from the performance. Free from pretending everything was fine when it was rotting from the inside. My father was gone. The man I'd thought he was had never existed. But I was still here. My mother was still here. And maybe eventually we'd figure out how to build something real from the ashes he'd left behind. Sarah was loaded into the ambulance. The detectives came over to ask us more questions. Aunt Carol arrived with coffee and sandwiches no one would eat. Life continued, messier and more complicated than I'd ever imagined it could be. But it continued. And that was something. 3 months later, I stood in a courtroom and watched my father plead guilty to embezzlement, fraud, and a dozen other charges. He got 15 years. Sarah testified against him in exchange for immunity. She hadn't known about the embezzlement until near the end, and her cooperation helped prosecutors recover assets for the victims. My mother got the house, the legitimate savings, and her dignity back. She started therapy, joined a support group for people who'd been betrayed. Slowly, carefully, she began to rebuild. I sold the house where Sarah and my father had betrayed me, bought a smaller place across town, started over with furniture they'd never touched, walls they'd never seen. I went to therapy too, learned that trust wasn't weakness, that vulnerability wasn't the same as blindness. I never spoke to my father again. He wrote letters from prison. Apologies that didn't sound sorry, explanations that explained nothing, requests for visits I never granted. Eventually, the letters stopped coming. Sarah moved to another state. I heard she was seeing someone new, someone age-appropriate. I hoped she'd learned something from all this. I hoped she'd figured out that excitement and danger weren't the same as love. As for me, I learned that sometimes the people you trust most are the ones who hurt you deepest. That family doesn't mean blind loyalty. That exposing the truth, however painful, is better than living in a beautiful lie. I learned that I was stronger than I thought, that I could survive betrayal and come out the other side, that I could stand at an altar and blow up my entire world and somehow, impossibly, build a better one from the pieces. And I learned that when you stand in front of 200 people and reveal the truth everyone was too afraid to see, you're not being cruel. You're being free.